Welcome to the Mesonet Weather Report. I'm Wes Lee. Last week I visited with you about the year-to-date rainfall situation. So this week let's focus on the state's temperature situation and how unseasonably warm it has been lately. Here are average temperatures by month over the past year. We see a cooler than average first half of the year with more blue arrows than red. This was highlighted by the exceptionally cold month of February, where temperatures averaged about 10 degrees below normal. August came in exactly matching the long-term average at 80.8. Since then, we have seen warmer than normal temperatures. This line chart focuses on this period of time, looking at the daily high temperatures, the departure from normal. You can see that the vast majority of days were spent above the average indicated by the zero line. Of course, we have encountered cool fronts that moved through the state, but they were mostly weak and very short-lived. Another way to illustrate this is by looking at soil temperatures. This 3-day average temperature at 4 inches is running mainly in the 50s, or about 5 degrees from where we were at a year ago. What does next week's forecast look like? It strongly indicates the late season heat wave will continue with much higher than normal temperatures. Now here's Gary with some pretty dismal rain news.
Thanks, Wes, and good morning, everyone. Well, once again, we find ourselves in a pretty bad situation with drought during that second year of a double dip La Nina, very much like the cool season of 2017-2018, which saw that drought start in the fall, extend all the way into the spring of 2018. We're not quite as bad as that yet, but we're well on our way. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's something we need to watch. Let's get straight to that new Drought Monitor map. Well, as you can see, we have a lot more color on the map this week, those tans and browns and reds. So nearly all of the state now has at least some drought, at least moderate drought to severe drought. And we still have a little bit of area over in east central and northeastern Oklahoma, a little bit of north central Oklahoma with just abnormally dry conditions. But without future rainfall, even in those areas, drought will start to spread and cover those parts of the state as well. We have several maps from the Oklahoma Mesonet which show the damage that's going on with the dry weather. The consecutive days with at least 1/10 of an inch of rainfall map. From the Mesonet, we do see much of the western half of the state from 30 to almost 60 days without 1/10 of an inch of rain in a single day. So very bad conditions. And when we up the threshold to 1/4 of an inch, it gets even worse. And look out there in the western panhandle. Kenton's been 102 days, straight days, without at least 1/4 inch of rain in a single day. So definitely damage being done to the soils and the crops of the state of Oklahoma in these areas. The 30-day rainfall map speaks for itself. Very little rainfall across the state. Some decent amounts over across east central and northeastern Oklahoma, a little bit in the southeast. But for the western half to 2/3 of the state, really nothing much to speak of. A little bit of a decent rain over in parts of eastern Oklahoma, but for the western half, no rainfall at all. And that paints a pretty depressing percent of normal rainfall map for that 30-day period. Lots of zeros all across the state, especially across that western half of the state. And really nobody's been above normal even the last 30 days. Even those parts of east central Oklahoma that had the decent rains, still just a little bit below normal to really a lot below normal. So we really need a pattern change to come in here. We need a big low pressure system to come in from the west and just sit there and crank out some rain. Don't see it quite yet, maybe in a couple of weeks. Let's hope that comes sooner rather than later. That's it for this time on the Mesonet Weather Report.